Hello, and welcome to the Real Estate and Business Success Podcast. I'm your host, Ben Jimmerson, your Southeast Alabama luxury realtor with first class real estate wiregrass. In this podcast, we're diving deep into the intersection of real estate and business to uncover what makes successful entrepreneurs tick. Each week, I'll be interviewing top business owners and investors from the Wiregrass region and beyond, exploring how they've achieved enduring success and how their strategies can apply to both real estate and other industries. Whether you're a real estate professional or a business enthusiast, get ready to gain valuable insights, discover new strategies, and elevate your own success. Let's get started. Welcome, everybody, to the Real Estate and Business Success Podcast. I'm your host, Ben Jimmerson. Today, I got Josh Chapman with me today. He's a business owner and a real estate investor. Thanks for being with us today, Josh.
Yeah, man. Thanks, Ben. I appreciate you having me. Happy to chat with you today and talk real estate and business.
Yeah, I'm really excited. This is our first episode, so really excited to dig into this with you and you especially because, the whole reason for this podcast is to interview business owners, to learn about the real and raw of how to start a business, how to manage a business, keep it going, and how to grow and scale a business, as well as talk to real estate investors here locally and around the country. And you kind of fill both of those spots. Today, I think it's going to be a great episode. Thank you, anybody for tuning into this episode and any of the future episodes. So, Josh, let's start with business. From my understanding, you either have or had owned several businesses. Can you just kind of tell me about that?
Yeah, so a little background. I'm a civil engineer by education, was an engineer for 10 years. When my oldest son was born, I decided I wanted to try to start some side hustles to earn a little additional income. So went down a rabbit hole, quickly learned that I was an entrepreneur at heart, loved starting businesses, loved making money and just grinding. So my son turned 8 years old last week. So that was about 8 years ago. And so I am guilty of giving everything a try. I don't mind jumping into something, and the old saying, jump, then learn how to fly. That's me. So fast forward, I started dabbling as a real estate investor in 2020. It started with short-term rentals. I quickly decided I wanted to buy some property to convert to short-term rentals. So I started researching what it would look like to buy properties. I decided pretty early on, I did not share this idea with anybody else other than my wife, but I decided that I wanted to try to find a side hustle that could replace my income as an engineer, because I didn't want to be an engineer for the rest of my life. I wanted to be a business owner and have control of my time, control my income, have a little more. As a business owner, a lot of times your results or lack of results has a direct impact on your income. Whereas as a W-2 employee, you're getting a set amount. There's not a whole lot of increase. Yeah, you might get a raise every now and then, but as a business owner, you ultimately control the amount of money you make and you control your time. So, I strayed away from your original question, but that's a little background on me. Remind me again your original question.
I was just saying, tell us a little bit about, I know that you told me that you either still own or did
Yeah.
own some businesses, whether you started them up or you acquired them.
Yeah. So currently, I'd say the businesses that I own and operate, I own a property management company here in Dothan, Alabama. We got that start by purchasing a property management company, and since then we've purchased another property management company. We started that business about getting close to 2 years ago. Pretty much every business that I have started within the last 4 years has been a ancillary business of real estate investment. So, like I said, I started as a real estate investor in 2020. I have provided property management services in the traditional management space and also the short-term rental management space. I started a lawn care business, a cleaning business, a handyman business, pretty much anything, any type of service that I saw that I was using a lot as a landlord. I tried to bring that in-house and start a business around it. and with some success, with some failure. But as of right now, we no longer do the lawn care, we no longer do the cleaning, we no longer do the external handyman service. Not to say those aren't great businesses. I think there's huge upside there. There's huge potential there. It just wasn't right for me.
Oh man, I love it, and I completely agree with you. Honestly, for me, besides real estate, which is my main thing and always has been, service-based businesses I found are the best to get into. They're the easiest, quickest to get into, usually with the least amount of, upfront costs to be able to get into them, just depending on what kind of equipment you need. Usually you can start them from home. They're home-based businesses most of the time, and then so it gives you that ability to be able to grow and not have a bunch of capital up front and a bunch of cash flow, a bunch of expenses up front. So that way you can grow into something bigger later on down the road. And you said something earlier I completely relate with, as far as kind of jumping in and getting into different things. And I really relate with that because I'm the same way. If I shared my screen right now, you should see how many windows and tabs that I have out open. But one thing that, we both know this, right? What I'm about to say, and it's hard, like being an entrepreneur, especially being newer, you can't help it. Like when you see opportunity and you see something, you want to get into it and at least kind of learn it. If anything, it's about learning skills and honing those skills in. But what I'm talking about is the one thing, right? And I think you've learned that through doing other businesses, and you probably realize the one thing for you that makes the most sense is real estate investing in
Yep.
general. So, with acquiring the businesses and starting them up, where do you think you're good at in business, like your role?
I learned early on, I like to learn what I'm good at. So that's a big reason why I like to start new things. I'm the type that I can get bored pretty easily. So once I feel like I'm really good at something, I'm going to ask the question, okay, what's the next step? Where can I take this skill next? I would say I'm really good, and this is what I got good at early on in my real estate investing journey. I'm good at finding deals, marketing efforts, just networking and talking to people and putting a deal together, finding a good deal, whether that be business acquisition, whether that be property acquisition. I love chasing new deals. I don't, to your point, the one thing, I love that book by Gary Keller, but I don't always focus on the one thing. I'm easily distracted. Like I said, I'm pulled away. But at the end of the day, I feel like if I do get distracted, a few months later, I'll circle back around and be like, okay, I tried this. I'm headed in this direction, but what am I the best at? What am I good at? And then I'll focus on that for a few months until I'm distracted again, and always trying to pull back in to finding good deals. With interest rates being what they've been the last couple of years, my acquisitions on property, rental property, has slowed a little bit, but I'm definitely getting the itch again to get out there and find new real estate deals. So, but yeah, I'd say I'm good at finding deals.
Yeah, man, I love it. I'm kind of wondering if you're talking about myself or you there for a moment. Because I mean, honestly, I really relate to that. Like I said, you should see all the windows I have open, all the tabs I have open. Well, I mean, there's so much in whether you're talking about business, whatever it is, in this case, it's real estate investing, which is a business. And, that's real estate investing is a broad term,
Mhm.
would you say? Because there's so many different avenues in there. You've got to acquire properties and hold them. You can wholesale properties. You can flip properties. I mean, there's all different kind of creative financing strategies, like subject to. I'm sure there's some other different strategies too that I can't think off the top of my head right now, but there's so many. And I just say that because it's easily, as an entrepreneur, you can easily get distracted. And so I definitely relate to that because that's the same thing, man. I'll get on something, and for a few months and then until I get distracted and then I'll circle back around. And
Mhm.
just talking about that, one thing that I've done recently is, the biggest thing I think that can help anybody in general in business is just being organized. And so I've tried to get more organized so that way I have a way to like look at a list and be like, okay, what do I need to do today? And hyper focus on that. That's something that I'm really learning is just block out a time and do nothing but that. Don't look at my phone,
Yep.
nothing else. That's all I'm going to do for like 2, 3, 4 hours.
Yes.
Or if I've got a task with something to do, I'm not going to switch around between tasks unless the task I'm doing, I've done what I can do, and I have to wait for somebody else to do what they have to do, then I'll go to another task. But as long as I've got what I need to do done, then that's what
Yeah.
I've been learning.
No, I think what you just described is spot on. Like when I first started out as a real estate investor, I consumed every real estate book that was out there. I listened to every single real estate podcast. I watched a million YouTube videos. I would say I did that for a year. And since then, all the content I've consumed has been around organization, time management, not experiencing burnout, like more mindset related books rather than once you're always learning in real estate. I'm not discounting that, but there's only so much you can consume in a book. Like you learn a lot more by getting out there and
Taking action.
working day to day. But there's an infinite amount of things you can learn in terms of mindset, in production, efficiency, those kinds of things. So those are the books that I try to consume now. One book I'll give a plug right now. It is a faith-based book, but it is a compilation of a lot of the time management books that I've read in the past. Redeeming Your Time by Jordan Rayner. Fantastic book. Fantastic book. It is a faith-based book, but it is incredible. And I read that about 3 or 4 months ago and have adopted a lot of the practices on time management and organization and time blocking and turning this thing off half the day, and a lot of just little tips and tricks that I got from that book that helped me to stay more focused.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you, man. That was actually going to be my next topic to talk about was mindset. So you covered that. One thing I would say is I need to connect you with a good friend, a mentor who got me into First Class Real Estate, the franchise. I don't know if you've seen me post about him, but his name is Phil Duke. And he actually just wrote a book himself that's called Unstuck. And so it kind of talks about something we were talking about earlier, to be able to get yourself unstuck in a business so you're not doing everything,
Yes.
how to hire out for those positions and those
Yep.
lanes, as they call it. So as far as investing goes, like, all right, so you basically started 4 years ago. Where are you at now with your rental portfolio? How many doors do you have?
Bit of a trick question. If you'd have asked me 6 months ago, I was up to, I'd say I topped out around 310 doors. I sold off a couple things. So I sold off mobile home park that was 18 lots. I'm in the process of selling off a mobile home park that was 85 lots. I sold off an apartment complex, which was 18 doors, and I'm in the process of selling off an apartment complex, which was 32 doors. So I'd say after the dust settles over the next month or two, I'm probably going to be somewhere around 180.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah,
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 so sounds like you grew pretty quick. What do you think was the key factor there that helped you grow so quick?
yeah. And I touched on this earlier, finding deals. I tell people all the time, and they think I'm full of it, but everybody has heard this before. Like, if you find a good deal, the money will be there. If you find an okay deal, chances are it's going to be a struggle to find the money to put the deal together. But if you find an incredible deal that only comes along rarely, then finding the money, finding the partners, finding a way to put it together is a lot easier. So I got really good at running numbers. I'm an engineer. I love numbers. I love diving into analytics. Um, but it's not complicated. I mean, a simple Excel calculator that calculates cash flow. A lot of times these bigger guys tend to overcomplicate it. I just look at cash flow, I look at cash on cash return, and occasionally I'll look at cap rates. But finding really good deals and being able to sell those deals. I don't mean sell them to somebody else. I mean sell them to partners, sell them to private money lenders. That is that's what allowed me to scale quickly. At one point in time, I was up to 310 units. I own by myself probably about 40 of those units. The rest are held in partnerships. I was the one that found the deal. And once I found the deal, I realized, hey, I don't want to take this down by myself, or I didn't have the means to take it down by myself. So I started building relationships with others who trusted me, who knew a little bit about real estate, who had capital. and wanted to invest. So I'm good. Again, I'm good at finding deals and putting deals together. That's what allowed me to scale quickly.
A lot of people think, and this is kind of what stops them or blocks them from ever investing in real estate or delays the process, is that you got to have your own money to be able to do this.
Oh,
So, would you say that finding other ways to be able to acquire this has also helped your growth, right?
absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, that's early on. Again, I'll go back to the beginning. As a civil engineer, I was making $75,000 a year. I had enough to support my family, pay the bills. I did start out wholesaling. I had about 5 grand to play with. And so the first month, I sent out probably 300, 400 postcards. In the first 10 months, I signed 11 deals and made about $100,000 in assignment fees. That as I that was why I had a full time job as an engineer. So I was hustling on the weekends, after hours, and then I knew going in I didn't want to be a long time wholesaler. That's just I wanted to pivot from wholesaling into buy and hold investor. I knew just doing simple math. I knew if I was cash flowing $200 a door, I knew what my salary was as an engineer, divide that by 200, I knew how many doors I had to acquire in order to offset my income. So that was my goal. I wanted to acquire enough doors to replace my income so I could quit my job and focus on real estate full time. So as soon as I did that, I quit my job. So throughout that process, I made relationships with others. I got good at talking about what I was doing. A lot of people are intimidated. I do coach real estate investors, and every real estate investor that I work with that's just starting out, they are super, super intimidated about asking people to partner with them or asking a private money lender to loan them money. Real estate is tried and true. You know, so many people in the history of humanity have invested in real estate with success. So if you are good at it, if you get good at it, it doesn't happen overnight. That gives investors a safe place to invest their money in a tangible asset that's going to appreciate. It's going to continue to go up in value. Worst case scenario with a private money lender, I tell people this, worst case scenario, if you don't make your payment to that private money lender forecloses on you, and then now they take over ownership of that asset that already has a bunch of equity. So it's a pretty safe investment for partners and for private money lenders. You just have to educate yourself enough as a real estate investor. I know I'm rambling, sorry.
No, you're fine.
You have to educate yourself enough to be able to sell your product. And your product is I'm bringing you have a full-time job, you're busy, you don't have the desire to go out and find good deals. I'll find those good deals for you, and I will use conservative calculators, conservative numbers to present realistic returns to you, and then we can take it down together and make some cash flow, pay it off. You're selling the future success of that asset and the future money that person's going to make.
Yeah, perfect, man. Love it. I absolutely agree with you. I appreciate all that. So you mentioned about real estate investing coaching. Do you have a name for that?
Yeah, small town investing. I've been coaching real estate investors for a couple years now. Honestly, that's what I enjoy the most. I get the most satisfaction out of working with other people, seeing them succeed. I tried my best to have an abundance mindset. We do live in a small town, but I've coached probably 10 different real estate investors here locally and some across the country. I truly believe that small towns are where the best deals are. There's less competition. There are typically barrier to entry is lower because cost of real estate is a little bit lower in most small markets. But the big thing is competition. I tried to do deals in Birmingham, in Huntsville, in Tallahassee, in Greenville, South Carolina, in Nashville, and the ROI on my ad spend was so much less than focusing on these smaller markets. And when you market in smaller markets, you're not having those conversations with sellers. Oh, I've already gotten 10 postcards from other folks and they gave me an offer on this. Can you beat that price? Like you don't run into that type of conversation, that type of competition in a smaller market.
No, I completely agree with you. That's something that I've noticed for a long time, kind of getting off track, but I say this all the time. I talk about this all the time, especially our area. I love it. I feel like it's so overlooked, which means there's so much opportunity for potential, whether it's real estate investing or some kind of business. I mean, as far as like business goes, I tell people all the time, look at a bigger city and see what's working and bring it here. And it's probably going to work if nobody's doing it already. If you can be the first one, then you're probably going to be really successful at it.
100%. And people, so that is what you just described is exactly how I started out. I was probably one of the very first Airbnb hosts in Dothan. And I bought a piece of property. I bought a house and converted it to an Airbnb 5 years ago. And people were like, "You are an idiot. Like, why would you buy a property? Like, who's coming to Dothan, Alabama and renting an Airbnb?" And here I was making 3,500, $4,000 a month on this single family house. And I just kept my mouth shut because I didn't want now, now people have, it's a lot of people are doing it now. But back then, nobody was doing it in Dothan, and I paid $1,000 for a course that taught me how to be an Airbnb host, and I, took a chance, and it was doing well. But I 100% agree. I tell people all the time, I feel like in the area we live in, a lot of people are closed-minded, and because it is a small town, we're the last to hear about, this good idea. And people think that when I was an Airbnb host, they were like, "Man, how did you think of that? Like, how did you find out about that?" I'm like, "Hey, people are doing it in Atlanta. People are doing it in bigger markets. Nobody around here. You must not watch YouTube, or you must not,
Or anything.
or anything." So
Yeah.
I 100% agree. I've repeated that time and time again to other people. Like, find out what. Don't try a new concept. Don't try a new idea. Try something that's tried and true. It might be new to this market, but it's working somewhere else in the country. Just take that same idea and implement it in a small market.
Yeah, don't recreate the wheel. I mean, that's, shameless plug, but that's why I bought in with a partner, another realtor, to First Class Real Estate because it's a franchise. I sat there and I thought about it, and this is nothing bad about anybody else. I'm not saying anything. I just sat there and I was like, I'm not going to recreate the wheel. I don't want to. Would it be nice to have my own brokerage with my own name or something like that? Yeah, but now a lot of my time and brain space are going to be figuring out the processes or the systems and the processes to go along with that and setting everything up. Or I could just buy into something that's already set up, that's already proven, that already works, and bring it to this area that nobody else is providing, and hopefully it'll do well. And just talking about this area, it's not like we're talking bad about it. If anything, if you're tuning into this right now, we're giving you a big golden nugget here that there is opportunity, and maybe you've been needing to hear that from somebody. So here we are telling you to go ahead and make that jump, that leap of faith of bringing something to this area that nobody else has yet. But I always say that we're like you said, it feels like we're the last to hear about something. I say we're about 5 to 10 to 20 years behind, depending on what you're talking about in this area, which in my mind as an entrepreneur, all I hear is opportunity.
Yep. No, 100%. Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, so small town investing, I love that, man, because correct me if I'm wrong, you've been doing investing for a while, so maybe I'm giving away a secret here too, but my hometown is technically Ozark, and I feel like there's some gold mines sitting over there in that area. People just kind of put it out of their mind because Dothan's a bigger city, so they're looking at population. Or you got Enterprise, it's a sister city to the Post, and but homes are actually higher priced over that way because of that. Nothing wrong with that. They've just done a great job with building their connection, and they're closer to the coast. But I don't know. I just feel like there's some gold mines in Ozark.
I agree. I agree. I've done, I'd say somewhere in between 10 and 15 deals over in Ozark in the last few years. And, you know, properties rent well over there. I've done a couple flips over there. Yeah, really, this whole area is great. I talk to people in other markets in other corners of the United States frequently. And I tell them kind of what I do here. And hey, don't come into to Dothan and try to buy up all of our properties, but it's a good area. This whole Wiregrass area, I feel like is a good spot.
Yeah, I agree, man. Well, how can people reach out to you to either get the coaching or your social media channels?
Yeah, so I'm not huge on social media. I'd say really the only place I hang out is Facebook, my personal profile, Josh Chapman, or I do have a business page, Small Town Investing with Josh Chapman. Hopefully, I'll grow some other social media platforms in the future, but also just good old fashioned email, josh at smalltowninvesting.com. Yeah, I do have a community. It's kind of a entry level investor community. It's only $7 a month. I have about 5 hours of content where teach you how to market, teach you how to analyze deals. We have Q&A calls every 2 weeks. So pretty good deal if you don't want to invest a whole lot of money in, one of the gurus out there. If you want to just tiptoe into real estate investing and see if it's a good fit for you, $7 a month and learn a lot. And so I'm wanting to grow that over the next year or two. Really, like I mentioned before, of everything that I do, the most rewarding, the most gratifying thing is working with individuals who are interested in real estate investing and who say, I can't do that or that can't be done. And then they work with me, and then 6 months later, they're doing their first deal. And obviously, they have a big smile on their face and feel some confidence. So I love that more than anything. So yeah, small town investing. Would love to have a conversation with any of your listeners if they're interested.
Yeah, I love it, man. Absolutely. And I can relate to that on my side as far as running a brokerage and being the broker. When I first started real estate 7 years ago, before I even had my license, I was in Kuwait. I was deployed. And so I was going through the course. Well, and really before I even went through the course, I'm a big researcher. That's something that people find out about me. Like I research a lot. I know a little bit about a lot and a lot about some things. But all I did was research, figuring out the issues in real estate. But one thing that became apparent to me through the military, being an NCO, a non-commissioned officer, is I love leading people and, coaching, mentoring, and training people. So I knew 7 years ago before I got my license that eventually I wanted to get my broker's license and I wanted to open up my own brokerage and I wanted to be able to help others get to, where I'm at now. And same thing for you. You want to help others get to where you're at now and get past those struggles and those mental roadblocks because, like you said, in this area, we kind of got that old mindset and there's not a lot out there helping people learn. I mean, you mentioned YouTube earlier. What's the saying out there? YouTube University. I mean, you can literally learn a degree on there. So there's plenty
Yeah.
of information out there. I'm a big quote person, and so one quote that I love is it's simple but not easy. It's simple because the information is out there. Like if
Yes.
you're just willing to take the time,
Yep.
whether it's after work, late at night, whatever, and just Google and YouTube something, you spend enough time on it, you're going to figure it out. I mean, the information is out there. That's the simple part. There's checklists, there's, roadmaps, there's business plans, everything you need. It may not be simple to necessarily learn it all, but it is simple to find it. And then the quote is simple but not easy. It's not easy because it's hard to actually take action like we talked about earlier, and not just take action, but take action consistently, and not
Yep.
just take action consistently, but take action consistently over a long period of time.
Yes. So if you see me over here typing away, I was pulling up a quote that I read yesterday from one of my mentors, and it resonates a lot with me, and it kind of is piggybacking on what you're saying right now. Every successful person I know put in a season of outworking everyone around them. So, yes, a lot of things are not complicated. There is a roadmap, there's a blueprint on how to do it, but it takes some hard work. And so, what you said earlier, it seems like I grew quickly. That didn't come. I came from a working class background. I did not have a silver spoon in my mouth. I started out with 5 grand. But from 2020 to I'd say 2022, I outworked everybody. And, now I'm trying to pull back a little bit on that. But there for 2 years, man, I was grinding. So every successful person that had a period of time where they outworked everybody. A lot of people see the final result and they'll say, "Oh, you got lucky," or
Must
you
be
fell
nice.
you fell into that, or you have a silver spoon and we're given all this money. That's not the case. Like there's a hard road to get to success. You just have to be, in order to get there, you have to be willing to work hard. And you can reap the rewards of that hard work later. There's a period of time where you just got to put your head down and work.
Absolutely, man. I'm glad you said that. I love that. You got to be patient. That's one thing I could tell people. And, I could talk another 5 minutes on this. So our time's about to be up. But another thing I learned to go along with that is people think they need motivation. You absolutely need motivation, but motivation wears off. And what
Mhm.
are you going to do after the motivation? Well, you better have discipline and determination. And discipline is what's going to carry you with that patience to eventually get to where you want to go. And before we started, I was trying to remember the guy in the quote that we were talking about earlier that kind of goes along with this as far as like your coaching, but it's Zig Ziglar. And he said, you can have everything in life you want if you will just help other people get what they want. Well, Josh, I've enjoyed your time here on our first episode. I appreciate you being our first guest.
Yeah,
And
man.
I can't wait for this to air out and get out there. But I
Yeah.
really appreciate it. Thank everybody for tuning in, and look forward to seeing y'all on the next episode. Thanks for joining me on the Real Estate and Business Success Podcast. I hope you enjoyed today's insights and are ready to apply these strategies to your own business endeavors. If you found value in the episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with others who might benefit. Stay tuned for more interviews with successful entrepreneurs and actionable advice to drive your business forward. Until next time, keep pushing for success, and remember, success is just around the corner.